And then this just summarizes some of the different types of anemia and what causes them. So either not enough red blood cells, so you can have a normal number, but they're being broken down more quickly, so you're upsetting the balance. Or it can be that you have to start off with a normal number, but you lose them in your body, and different types of anemia here. Or else the number and the lifespan of the red cells can be quite normal, but what goes on inside them with hemoglobin can be abnormal. So those are just some general ways in which things can go wrong. Not the end result of all of these, not enough oxygen being carried to the tissues. And then underneath here, I've just summarized some of the examples that we can talk about just very briefly, that I would like you to think about more when you're thinking more about red blood cells. So probably the most common cause of anemia, as it says here, is a lack of iron. I'm not going to go into any of the sort of pathological or clinical side of this, but just to remind you why you know that this will cause a problem. You know that iron is the central feature of the hemoglobin molecule, and that's where the oxygen binds. So if you don't have enough iron in your diet, you're losing too much, if the balance is upset, if you don't have enough iron, you can't carry oxygen adequately. One that I haven't mentioned, and maybe just needs a little bit more explanation, is number 2 here. The lack of something called intrinsic factor and vitamin B12. And I won't put it up, but it's shown in more detail in figure number 18. And what this is just telling you is that you need something called intrinsic factor, which comes from the stomach, in order to be able to absorb vitamin B12. Vitamin B12 is an important vitamin. It's a fairly large molecule, and we have some trouble absorbing it. Or at least we would do if we didn't have this factor called intrinsic factor. They form a complex together and with a special transport system. And really the only thing you need to know here is that vitamin B12 is essential for the normal formation of red blood cells. So in a rather roundabout way, you can see why if somebody's got stomach problems, cells which produce the intrinsic factor, they're damaged, or the large part of the stomach has been removed for some reason, then that in turn will mean you can't absorb the B12, and in turn that means that the formation, the development of red blood cells will be abnormal. And this gives rise to something called pernicious anemia. In number 3, you know that the major site of production in adults of all cells, all blood cells, including red ones, is the bone marrow. So anything that causes damage to the bone marrow, radiation, various drugs, chemotherapy drugs, for example, this will affect not only red cells, but all blood cell production, something called aplastic anemia. You know that the major control for production of red cells is this hormone derived from the kidneys, erythropoietin. And so people have kidney damage, where they have kidneys, well, not both kidneys removed, but they have maybe one kidney removed, maybe the other one can't compensate that, I'm not sure about that. But anyway, if the production of EPO from the kidneys is below normal, you can't respond to hypoxia, then you're going to have a problem. Now, I think I mentioned briefly last time that nowadays EPO is available to be given to people if they need it. And so if you realize that this is what the problem is, then you can get around it. But I also mentioned that if you have too much EPO, you get an increase in red cell number above normal, polycythemia. And this can affect the flow properties of the blood, the viscosity, and it doesn't flow as well as it should do. And so, for a different reason, you could still have decreased oxygen supply to the tissue. Number 5, if we turn to the breakdown side, remember red cells, no nucleus, they've got a limited lifespan, about 4 months, but if they break down more readily than usual, or more quickly than usual, then you can have problems. Why might they break down more quickly? One problem is the shape of the red cells. I told you previously that if they're the normal flat biconcave discs, they can fold up and squeeze through small spaces. If they're spherical, and there's a condition where red blood cells may be spherical, abnormal ones, they break down more easily, and so you have problems there, or other reasons too. Increased loss in the body is very straightforward, either just simply cutting large blood vessels, or more insidious, chronic loss of blood, which may not seem all that much at any one moment, but it may be enough to cause problems. So heavy menstruation, bleeding from ulcers and so on, not an enormous amount of blood at any one time, but it may be enough to tip somebody over to the anemic state. And then the last one, just a brief mention of some of the problems that can happen, not with the red cell per se, but with its contents, the hemoglobin. And I'm just reminding you that normal hemoglobin in adults has got 2 alpha and 2 beta globin chains. In fetuses, before birth, this is the normal, the major normal hemoglobin that you find, hemoglobin F. It's got 2 alpha, it's got 2 gamma chains instead, and you may learn more about this later, and there are advantages to the fetus. The properties of this molecule are slightly different, and it's advantageous to the fetus. But by the time of birth, you're beginning to switch over, there's a mixture for a while, and then you switch over to the normal adult hemoglobin. Just to mention something that can go wrong in adult hemoglobin, this case of sickle cell anemia caused by sickle cell hemoglobin. It's interesting in that you've got 2 alpha and 2 beta chains. This star here is indicating an abnormality in the beta chain. And I was amazed when I think about this, that abnormality is a change in one single amino acid out of the 140 some amino acids in the beta chain. It's changed from one thing to another, and this is enough to cause big changes in the properties of the hemoglobin. And you end up with precipitation, crystallization of hemoglobin, and this is just an example of what a cell looks like when it contains these deposits of this abnormal type of hemoglobin, and it forms this sort of sickle shape. And as a consequence of this, these red cells with this sickle cell hemoglobin, 2 major problems. They're not able to flow through the circulation as well as the normal flat biconcave discs. These ones are not able to fold up as well. And also their lifespan is reduced because they are more liable to break down. So the end result there is you get problems in carrying oxygen to the tissue. And then just lastly, a few other things that can go wrong. You can have problems with the production of globin chains. They can be normal in structure, but the numbers of them can be unbalanced. And in order to work properly, you need to balance the numbers of alpha and beta chains, because individual chains, you've got some left over, they're not going to work, and for reasons that I don't really understand, they themselves, sort of loose floating around globin chains, can cause some problems. Or you can have a problem with the heme portion of the molecule. It drives to a condition called porphyria. Anybody seen the film Madness of King George? It's been a few years since it was around now, but if you've got a chance to see it, it's worth seeing. It's about King George III of England, the one that was called Mad King George. He lost the colonies in America and so on. And it's thought that probably the reason of his madness was that he had this condition, porphyria. It causes problems with oxygen transport and so on, but there's other byproducts that it can, I don't know, settle in the brain or something and can cause problems. So just think what might have happened in the world, things that might have been different if his healing had been quite more better or worse. Anyway, and then the last one, I mentioned that iron has to be in the ferrous state, normally in order to be able to bind to oxygen, and if it goes into the ferric state, then that's unfortunate because that can't carry oxygen. And that sometimes happens if you don't have the right enzymes which normally do convert the ferric, a small amount of ferric that's produced can be converted back to ferrous. And if something goes wrong with that, then again, overall things are not going to work. So that's just sort of rounding off the red blood cell story. And now I want to move on to the next major area, which is the white blood cells or leukocytes. And I just picked up a couple of extra optional readings here that you might be interested to have a look at. The bottom one is maybe the one to start with rather than the top one if you're going to. It's rather, I was just having a quick look at this one last Friday. It's a mixed site. It's put out by the Nobel Foundation, so it's a good site. It's a trustworthy one, I think. But it has some stuff which sort of fun to start off with maybe, which I think is probably intended for fairly young children. There's cartoons and little games and things that you can play. And then it works its way up to some useful information. And then the top one also, much more sort of serious one, which has got, again, lots of useful information. If you'd like to do some more reading on white cells or follow up on this or expand your knowledge. Okay, I'll leave that one up for a while. So what do we need to know about white blood cells? We know from previous lecture that white blood cells are fewer in number than red blood cells, but that they are much more diverse in their appearance and in their production and in their way of function. So let's look at that again. White blood cells, like all blood cells, are produced in adults in bone marrow from stem cells. And these are the same stem cells that give rise to red cells and white cells and platelets. They can keep their own numbers up. So each time the stem cell divides, one of the daughter cells goes off and in this case becomes some type of white blood cell, and the other one stays behind, as it were, to keep up the stem cell population. These white blood cell precursors can go through a whole series of steps regulated by various controlling hormone-like molecules, and they give rise to the polymorphonuclear granulocytes, neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils. They give rise to monocytes, those are the large ones with a horseshoe-shaped nucleus. And they also give rise to the lymphocytes. When I showed you the similar figure last time, I covered the thymus gland up and said just ignore that for now, we come back to it. Now's the time to include it. What happens with some of the white cell precursors is that they form lymphocytes in the bone marrow. And that particular subclass of lymphocyte is called B cell or B lymphocyte. Easy to remember, B for bone marrow. But some of them go off on a journey to the thymus gland. This is a gland in the neck region. Don't mix it up with the thyroid. This is thymus. And this is the site of differentiation, maturation of another subtype of lymphocyte called T for thymus, T cells. Both the B and T cells end up, like all these other cells, in the blood. So you've got granulocytes, monocytes, lymphocytes in the blood. And as we saw previously, most white blood cell function is carried out in the tissues, because the overall function of the white blood cells is in immunity, in the body's defense against invasion by pathogens, or when you've got even your own damaged cells have to be got rid of. This clearing up, cleaning out sort of business is the function of white blood cells. So granulocytes move into the tissues, do their job. Monocytes move into the tissues and form macrophages, even larger cells. And the lymphocytes not only go into the tissues, but they can recirculate back into the blood and back into the tissues again through the lymphatic system. And I'll talk more about what that is in a moment. So that's the background. Now to ask the questions, figure number 20. Why do we have an immune system? The simple answer is very obvious. It's to help us to survive. But there's both good and bad aspects to this. And sometimes we tend to forget, I think, about the bad or the inappropriate responses of this system. Let's just have a look first of all at maybe the more obvious ones. We have an immune system to defend us against outside things which are trying to get into us. We're warm, we're moist, and provide nutrients and a nice comfy place to invade and to multiply and so on. So we need a defense against that. And then our own system, the cells which get old or damaged or whatever, then we want to get rid of those. So that's the good reasons, or the good side of this system. But just briefly here, though I won't really be talking much about the second part here, is that things like allergies due to an exaggeration of an immune response. I mean, after all, why should, for some people, if they just breathe in certain pollens or touch something, it isn't really dangerous to them, but their body responds as if it is, over-responds, and gives you this exaggerated response to something which really isn't going to cause any problems. Or another one, the body normally is pretty good at distinguishing between something that is foreign, coming in from out there, coming in that you don't want to come in, or recognizing your own cells if they're abnormal. But occasionally things go wrong, and the body responds to something which it shouldn't do within your own body. So things like the cells which produce insulin, occasionally the body turns against those, treats them as if they were foreign, as if they were dangerous. And that's one example of autoimmune. You'll respond auto-self. You're turning against yourself, not a good thing. And then the last one is really no fault of the immune system. But if a person needs a new kidney, a new heart, whatever, the body's going to look at it and say, here's something foreign. My education tells me I have to destroy it, get rid of it. It hasn't, it hasn't evolved yet enough to say to itself, yeah, it's foreign, but it's going to do me, the body as a whole, a good turn. So it hasn't reached that point yet. And so there are problems there with the immune system, through no fault of its own, is rejecting things that are being put there because they should be helpful. So the questions to ask are, how does the body defend itself? And trying to keep in mind all the time that this is not a class in immunology, really. You would need a whole, not just one or two classes, you'd need a whole course, you'd need a whole degree in immunology to really answer these questions of how the immune system works. So I'm just going to sort of tread very lightly on the surface of this topic and try and answer a few questions. So how does the body protect itself? Traditionally, we divide the immune system into two sub-classes, two sub-immune systems. But I should emphasize straight away that these are not separate systems. From the point of view of description and explanation, it's easier to treat them, first one and then the other. But there is absolutely crucial interaction between the two of them, and you really need them both to have a successful immune response in most cases. So these two subtypes are called the non-specific or innate body defenses. And the second one are the specific or acquired ones. So looking briefly at the non-specific ones, or innate. Innate, this refers to the fact that these are the defenses that we're born with. As soon as the baby is born, right from the word go, it has some defense against the external world. And we maintain these, we keep them from that right. But there are other ones that we acquire as we get older and become exposed to different things in our environment. And we respond only if we have that exposure. So innate, think of it as we're born with it, the acquired ones come later on. So some of these are pretty straightforward. If foreign agents cannot get into your body in the first place, there's no problem. Intact skin, various enzymes in the secretions, the saliva, gastric juice, which is very acidic, tears, things that are more or less on the surface of your body, whether it's the true external surface or whether it's the internal external surface, you know what I mean, like the interior of the GI tract, although it's inside the body, is in communication, both ends, with the external environment. And there's various secretions and enzymes and so on there. So if these things are able to prevent the entry, then that's the end of the story. They're very useful, but they're not 100% effective. Unwanted things, of course, do get in, and this is where the white blood cells, mainly the granulocytes and the monocytes, which turn into other cells like macrophages, play a role, mainly in the innate system. The specific one, white blood cells again, but here it's mainly the lymphocytes, and there's a few examples maybe of important interactions between the lymphocytes here and the granulocytes and macrophages in the lymph system. So to summarize some of the differences between these two, the innate, or another word, natural, or relatively non-specific is better than saying non-specific. You might want to just add that in. And the acquired or the adaptive is relatively specific system. Some of the key features are this difference in specificity. People used to say that the innate system was non-specific, but we now know that that's not at all accurate. We have to be able to distinguish somewhat between the things that need to be attacked and the things that should be left alone. And the body is able to do that. Then we'll see a little bit later on how it manages that. So I think, I don't know if it helps to think of when you go through passport control, say at an airport, you could have the people that are working there could look at people's passports and say, okay, yours is a dark blue passport, you go this line. Anybody else that hasn't got a dark blue one, you've got a red, yellow, green, black, whatever one, you go the other way. So there's some distinction between, path that you take, depending on the colour of the passport that you're holding. But it's only relatively non-specific. It's not distinguishing exactly which country people are coming from, or whether your passport's up to date or whatever. Whereas in a specific system, not only would the people at the airport be able to distinguish, the colour, they could say, okay, you've got a dark blue one and it's from Canada, so you go there. You've got a dark blue one and it's from somewhere else. You go a different line. You've got a dark blue one which is out of date. You go to the back and talk to somebody else. And red one is that line and so on. So it's a degree of specificity rather than an absolute difference between them. Another difference is that the innate system does not have memory, whereas the specific system does. What that means, broadly, is that your body sees something that it knows it needs to defend you against in the innate system, it'll do its job, and it'll do it quite well today, let's say. But if your body sees that same problem 6 weeks, 6 months, 6 years later, it has to start from scratch again. It has to do its little bit of recognition, it has to do its response, starting from scratch. It hasn't improved with experience. It hasn't got worse, but it hasn't got better. It'll be the same every time you see it. Whereas in the acquired or adaptive system, adaptive gives you the hint that things are going to improve. And there is an ability to have a memory of the first exposure. You don't necessarily respond all that well the first time you see foreigner X. But if you see X again in the future, your specific system will say, wait a minute, yes, that rings a little bell somewhere. I know I dealt with that previously, not very well the first time, but I've learned from that. Now I know better what to do, and I will respond better, and also more quickly. So initially, this is a fairly slow system, whereas the innate one is fairly fast. But with this development of memory and so on, even the acquired or adaptive one is able to speed itself up compared to its first exposure to X. As I said, it's mainly the granulocytes and the macrophages involved in the innate one, mainly the lymphocytes in the adaptive one, but they don't work alone. They work with each other, and they work with various other systems and molecules, something called the complement system, antibodies, etc. And I'll talk a little bit about those as we go through. So let me start with the innate system, and to use an example of inflammation. So we've all had it. You scratch your hand or foot on something, and a short while later, it becomes inflamed. So what do we see when we look at the hand or foot or whatever that's inflamed? It turns red, it feels warmer than usual, maybe swollen, and it probably hurts. And these words in brackets are just the Latin terms which you don't need to remember, but are sometimes used. This redness, warmth, swelling, and pain. So what's happening? What makes these things happen? You get increased blood flow to the area of damage. So this is going to bring more blood, more warmth, more redness. The blood vessels in that area are going to become more permeable, leaky. Certain of the constituents of the blood, therefore, will find it easier to leave. We're talking here white cells and some fluid, so you're going to get swelling in the tissues. And from various damaged cells and from various white cells, you get release of inflammatory mediators, and there's whole families of these, which potentiate this whole process. And why did you get all this? Is it a good thing? Well, the answer to that is that it is a good thing in the short term, and we'll see why. In the long term, you've got chronic inflammation that causes all sorts of other problems, which you're not concerned with here. We're looking at the relatively short term, a few hours or maybe even a few days inflammation. And it's considered to be a good thing because, in a sense, it's part of the defense system, part of the beginning of the healing process. And the purpose is, because you've got increased blood flow, increased permeability, you're bringing more of the white blood cells and various molecules to the site where you need it. Now, I don't know if you know with new copyright laws that are going around, we were told that we're not allowed to show cartoons. Which are not relevant. Something that's just funny, we can't show, we're not supposed to show. But I think this one falls within the realm of but it's an educational one. So that's why I'm showing it to you. Giving you the reference here. And this is just giving, in this slightly amusing way, this idea of what goes on in an inflammatory response, and a little bit also about the relationship between, so some of these things I've mentioned, the increased blood flow, making it hot and red, swelling due to the outflow of fluids from the blood vessels into the tissues, release of various mediators, some of which cause pain, and then this last one here. That, all of these together, if they're serious enough and prolonged enough, you're removing it's not exactly a foundation here, but something gives, and the whole system can cease to function properly. So it's just a way of looking at this whole process of inflammation. Okay, so let's look a bit more closely. What's this got to do with white cells? I keep reminding myself and reminding you that this is our topic really, white blood cells and their function. So what do they do? Well, a group of white blood cells, known as the phagocytes, these are mainly the neutrophils and the macrophages. Remember, monocytes become macrophages. Phagocytes, then mainly neutrophils and macrophages, we need them to escape from the inside the blood vessel, through the blood vessel wall, and get into the tissues, where they can do something about an invasion. So let's imagine that you have a straight hand or foot. You've been doing something that's a bit mucky, gardening, whatever, and some bacteria, whatever, have got into the tissues. So white blood cells then need to travel to the site of this foreign invasion. And then once they get there, they need to recognize, which is the foreign bit that's supposed to be got rid of. They need to attach to, take in phagocytose bacteria, for example, and destroy them. If they're infected, or infected or damaged cells. So the questions that provokes then are, how is this ruled about? And I'll put this one up again later if anybody needs it, but I'd like to move this one here now. This is summarizing that the next three figures, so that's 25, 26, and 27, really summarize or talk about the same thing. So what we're going to be looking at, and I think I'm going to focus on 27. Most of what I'm saying is in 25 or 26. And what this is describing, explaining, is how these white blood cells, you can either look at 25 or 26, both at once, but let's leave that one out. How the white blood cells know that something's gone wrong in the tissues, how they get there to the site of invasion, and what they do to make things better. So what we're looking at here is a small blood vessel. And most of this happens in these very small veins. And these small veins are quite simple in their structure, which is relevant here. The wall of these blood vessels is made up of a single layer of green cells here. These are endothelial cells. And they sit on a basic membrane, but there's really nothing else in the wall of these small blood vessels. Blood is flowing in at this end and flowing out at that end. And in the blood, amongst everything else, which isn't shown here, we've got some white blood cells. And the one that I'm actually showing is probably a neutrophil, but the same sort of story would happen with the monocytes or even with other white blood cells. Let's say this is a neutrophil. And when there's no damage, these neutrophils, like other blood cells, float through in the blood, they carry down here, and off they go. But now in this example, we've got a problem. We've got invasion by bacteria here, and we have to do something about that. So what are the steps that are involved? Well, probably the first thing that happens is that cells called resident macrophages, which are present in the tissues already, are able to engulf and destroy pretty quickly at least some of these bacteria. So these resident macrophages are acting sort of as sentinels. They're on guard already. And so a lot of this, I'm sorry, sounds very warlike. That's the sort of terminology that people use. So if they see this invasion of the foreign organisms, they're there and they're ready and they're able to engulf and destroy them. But they're probably not able, in many cases, to clear the ground completely, especially if it's a big invasion. So they need to call for extra help. And there's a release probably from these macrophages, from damaged cells in this area, of inflammatory mediators, cytokines. Now, I've given you, at the end of this section on white cells, what I call a physiologist's glossary, or set of terminologies or definitions. And if there are words that you're not familiar with, not at the moment, you don't need to look, but I think a lot of the terms that I'm using are present there. Let me just say that cytokines you can think of as the hormones of the immune system. They're produced by many different cell types, including the white blood cells. They act as a way of communication between different cells involved in immune responses. I don't know how many of them there are, there's lots and lots of them. They can do, each one has got several functions. There's overlap in their functions. There's backups, there's safety measures, and so on. It's a whole big family. And it's sort of useful if you're not quite sure what's responsible for doing something. You say, oh, it must be one of the cytokines. And the chances are you're probably correct. So here we have some certain cytokines which bring about an inflammatory response. And what this involves is ultimately bringing these white cells from inside to outside the blood vessel. Now the first thing you have to do is to slow them down. And what you get is the appearance of certain molecules both on the surface of the white blood cell and also on the surface of the endothelial cells. And there's a fairly loose and reversible binding between the ones on white cell and on the endothelial cells. It's a little bit like having a Velcro lining inside the blood vessel. And the other half of the Velcro is on the white cell. They come together and they stick, but you can rip it apart quite easily. So what this initial binding does is to slow down the white cells. They're caught onto the endothelial cells, and they start rolling along the surface, making and breaking the connections between these particular molecules. And then the slightly later stage, there's further activation, and you get the appearance of further different type of adhesion molecules, both on the white cell and on the endothelial cell. And these provide much further attachment and stop the white cell in its tracks. Once it has been stopped and it attaches, the white blood cell can put out these pseudopodia, and it can wiggle its way between adjacent endothelial cells. It can sort of slim itself down and move from inside to outside the blood vessel. This is a process called diapedesis, emigration. Once it's in the tissues, it moves by a process of chemotaxis, which means it moves along a chemical gradient. And it's the gradient of various inflammatory mediators which is going to be at the highest concentration, closest to the site of invasion, and then there'll be less dense further away. And these cells, they're like sniffer dogs. They can follow the trail of these chemotactic molecules and move towards the site where the bacteria are. Now, if you're interested, if you're asking yourself, what are these particular molecules on the endothelial cells and the white cell? Not going to really talk anything more about this, but maybe some of you have had this in other courses. Molecules called selectins and integrins are examples of these cell adhesion molecules, which are present both in the white blood cell membrane, here's the endothelial cell. There's different subtypes of these, and these are some of the ones, the selectins and integrins, which are involved in this attachment of the white blood cells to the wall. The next question is, what do the white blood cells do once they've undergone this initial attachment, stronger attachment, the diapedesis, chemotaxis? Once they reach the bacteria, in this case, what do they do? Well, there is some recognition, and I've added here something called pathogen-associated molecular patterns. These are molecules which are specific to bacteria, from example in the cell membranes, but which are not normally found in human cells. So when we talk about relatively non-specific, this is basically what people are saying. That our own cells, here's one of our cells, a white blood cell, a phagocyte, maybe a neutrophil, could be a macrophage. This is able to recognize that this striped thing here is something that is foreign and needs to be dealt with. And this recognition occurs because of certain receptors, pattern recognition receptors on the surface of the white cell, which are able to recognize these pathogen-associated molecular patterns. Do you know why this has been in the news lately, this idea? General news, not just science news. No? Nobel Prize for Physiology and Medicine this year. This was one of the areas, this idea of this recognition was one of the areas that was rewarded, like, with the Nobel Prize. So obviously very important. However, it's not the whole story. The bacteria can also be coated with certain molecules called opsonins, which make them even more attractive to these phagocytes. So in addition to having these pants on the surface, bacteria may become coated with certain molecules that you, the host, produce. And we'll talk later on what they might be, but let's just say they're protein molecules which you can put